So we're here in our brand new storage room, our Depot Boijmans van Beuningen, which opened now almost 1 year ago for the public. And this is actually the space where all of our paintings are kept. So we're standing here in front of Pieter Claes's 1636 breakfast still life. And we see a glass of beer on a late table with a knife, thin plate with a herring on it, and a bun of bread, and one small fragment of a cracked hazelnut. It's of course a very, very attractive painting because it's the details and the expression of the textures and the materiality of all of these depicted objects is so realistic and so convincing. For instance, we see here a white bun of bread, which is of course, I mean, you immediately feel the very crispy texture of it. He really succeeded in depicting a very attractive crust. Same thing, of course, here with the glass of beer, how he depicted or suggested the foam on top of the glass of beer, the shimmering of the light on the scales of the herring. It's all very convincing. It's very nicely enveloped in a very nice light. And one interesting detail is that here he actually depicted the reflection of the window in his workshop in the reflection of this glass. And actually here in our collection we have also the type of objects that Pieter Claes displayed. And I selected here a couple of them. So we have 2 waffle beakers and 1 tin plate. For instance, if you have a look at the texture and the structure of the glass, it's really amazing to see how Pieter Claes succeeded in depicting it on his painting just with paint. This type of painting is called a breakfast piece, an ontbijtje, even in 17th century sources. And it may be surprising for us to see, but actually this really was the breakfast that people took in the 17th century. So people often started their day with bread, herring, beer, sometimes also cheese or sort of porridge. The ones who could afford it actually ate this for breakfast. Pieter Claes was a painter who was probably born in Berchem near Antwerp in 1596 or 97, and then he came to the northern Netherlands in 1621. He installed himself in Haarlem, and it's actually there that he started his career, that he started his production. And so he developed his very typical monochrome bankets, his breakfast still lifes, of which this is of course a prime example. He developed this in the northern Netherlands, so it's really where his career really got a start. And he immediately starts to influence other artists there, like Heda. So very interestingly, also artists in the south again became influenced by what he was doing in the north. The painting was bought in 1883 at auction in Amsterdam, and it was actually the first painting that had been bought by our then brand new director, Pieter Haverkorn van Rijsewijk. He only started as a director a month before, and his appointment had been very controversial. He was actually a preacher man turned journalist, and so a lot of people felt that he wouldn't be up to the standards of what a museum director should be. Just 1 month after his start, he went to auction in Amsterdam, and he bought this painting there. And it's actually pretty interesting because 1883 is also the year in which the identity of the master who painted these paintings was identified as Pieter Claes by Abraham Bredius. And so Abraham Bredius corresponded with Pieter Haverkorn van Rijsewijk, and so he knew that this was a new discovery, so to speak. I think in a way Pieter Haverkorn van Rijsewijk wanted to show with this acquisition that he was able to fulfill the job of a museum director. So at the same auction as that painting, Pieter Haverkorn van Rijsewijk also bought this very similar painting by Willem Heda of 2 years earlier. I think it's dated 1634. Those are very, very comparable pictures, of course, but at the time we didn't actually have something like this. So they really filled in a gap, an important gap in the collection, and they still do. They are still the best representatives of this type of painting in our collection. What I think personally is so attractive in it is that it's so pure, it's so simple, and there's nothing too much in it. So before he starts painting these types of banquets, his work it tends to be a little bit dull, a little bit too stuffed, too full. And afterwards, after this period, it also gets too much. Actually, it stays in the same color scheme, but he adds a lot of different elements. But here he succeeds really in painting a very convincing still life, very nice to look at. There's no vanitas symbolism, there's no pointing fingers saying what you should eat or what you shouldn't eat. It's simple and it's beautiful. If I would ask myself the question, what is the most important Netherlandish work in our collection, then I don't think this would be it, and I don't perhaps even think that it would have been in the top 10 or something. So of course it has always been a beautiful example, but I think the fact that it has now been included in the canon, makes me appreciate it even more, I think.